then that should come over to here. But yeah, I actually feel like I can step away a little bit from the integration just ever so briefly, because I managed to be as successful as I was last week. I put a lot together over like the last end of last week and the beginning first 3 days of this week. Feeling pretty solid about that. Now there's a lot of cleanup and some more detailed implementation and some like edge cases to take care of, but it's pretty cool to have it fully functioning and thinking that people are going to use this to transact in the future, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
We are going live on LinkedIn.
That is exciting. What is this?
All right, we are live. Greetings and salutations, all of our dearest fans. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
We are back
We'll
after a hiatus. My voice might be kind of funky. I'm getting over a cold. I'm feeling much better. That's why we weren't live last week. I instead went and took a 3-hour nap, which was a fantastic decision and really necessary on my part. So now we're here, strong and ready to go. Courtney, how was your last, 2 weeks?
My last 2 weeks have been interesting. I don't think I've mentioned it on here yet, but I started working at a startup called Algorithm. Rhythm spelled musically, not scientifically. And I've really enjoyed that. This last couple weeks has definitely been an uptick in the actual like building side of things. And I'm learning a lot. I'm working with a lot of new technology. We're using Next and Flask, both technologies I'm familiar with, but now I'm building things like we discussed earlier, some service workers to take care of background tasks. I'm also utilizing Supabase to handle authentication and our database, our Postgres database, and that has been an education as well. It's very different because a lot of the configuration for that is not in the code, which was, I mean, it makes sense when you walk through it, but at first I was thinking, wait, but I can't just do it from my VS Code. I have to go to their website and set all this up. And maybe there actually is a way to do it from VS Code. I don't know, but um, it's interesting. The Supabase in particular is where I've spent a lot of time building models. The auth part of things is very complex too, but I think I have a handle on it now. So it tries to do a lot for you. I think I actually enjoy that. The original version of this project was utilizing NextAuth, which is very easy, but doesn't offer the same sort of security for the database that utilizing their Supabase's whole package offers.
Cool.
So that's what I've been knee deep in all of that.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned to Courtney before we went live, but this last week on Wednesday, I reached a really nice milestone on the escrow.com integration at Nebulae, where I now have it fully functional for from completion to contract end through that whole process, integrated into our site, showing the information at every step, giving the users, step-by-step information about like what are you doing, what do you need to do next, click this button, go here, do that, and all integrated with the back end, the database out to their API and back home again. And that feels pretty good. It's pretty sweet to be able to totally go through and like close down a transaction there. There's more cleanup and other things to be done yet. It's not fully finished, but I think that I have to imagine that is like 75% of the work done, is just actually integrating everything. And now it's just kind of figuring out how we want to handle some of the different edge cases, and figure out a few other like more detailed items, and then probably some cleanup on particularly my backend code, because that's where I'm less experienced. So I have things working there, but I can think of a few examples where I'm like, yeah, I should probably do that a little differently, because it's not quite kosher or not as clean as it could be or something like that.
On this side of all the work you've just done, how much do you feel you've grown as a developer?
A massive amount.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, obviously, both in my understanding of just the nebulized structure between
Mm,
like the full stack flow that we have there about how to like take a button click to activate something on the front end to send a signal to the back end to reach out into the database to process that and pass it all back down again. Like I actually like understand and see that pattern now, which is cool. But also just doing an actual integration like this. This is not
mm,
this whole thing. This isn't something that I would ever think that I would do as a toy, right? As a I'm a new developer. I'm going to learn to build something. I'm going to integrate escrow.com into a pre-existing contracting platform. Like that's not really like a beginner project. Um, I'm feeling pretty sharp at the moment, actually, like with my JS skills and my architecture skills. Um, I've gotten a lot more hands-on with React Query as well, which is a library I've heard about for a long time
mm.
that I just hadn't ever actually looked at. But now that I've used it a bunch in this process, I understand why it's awesome, and it's been cool to like add that to my tool belt of understanding. Um,
That's something I want us to delve into eventually. I've read a lot about React Query as well.
mhm.
React Query and TanStack Query,
Well,
I think.
so it's the same thing.
Oh, is
I've
it?
been
Oh,
confused
okay.
about that too. TanStack, I think so. Originally, it was React Query. I don't know if
Mhm.
TanStack was a thing yet. Tanner, I don't know his last name, is the developer that has built React Query. I guess he has TanStack Router now. He built his own router. There's several tools that this guy has built under like this umbrella of the Tan stack, right? It's his stack
Oh,
that
I
he's building out
see.
of these tools. Um, whether or not it was that umbrella existed always, because I only ever really heard React Query for the longest time until within the last several months I've started seeing and hearing TanStack Query, but it's like TanStack slash React Query. I think that's the one and the same. It's just under this new umbrella. So, um, yeah, it's cool, and WogMe Hooks uses it under the hood, and so
Oh, oh,
once
interesting.
I once I started messing around with React Query like on its own, not in a Web3 context where it's wrapped by the WogMe library, I instantly recognized the pattern. I was like, oh, okay. Because in WogMe hooks, I mean, you have a hook, you pass it an object with like the contract address and the different any arguments you're passing to the contract and the function name that you want to hit and yada yada, and then it then you destructure from that like the return data, if there's any errors, the status of the call, all that stuff, so you could use that in your components. React Query does the exact same thing. You pass it an object that has like a function that it's going to call. You can pass in your function there. Then it has a like on success function. It will call once the call is successful, and then you can get your data out there. And then it's got like on error. It's the same exact structure. So once I put those two together, I could fly around with React Query pretty quickly because I had worked with it in the Web3 context, but now I'm just using
Mm.
it to make API calls instead. And it's great because you're not using the use effect anymore. You don't have to do the like setting up manually handle all the state for like is loading, is fetching, is error. Like that's all just abstracted away inside of this hook. It's beautiful. I understand why people love it.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Um so that's I've been talking there for a while, but yeah, cool progress. Feeling pretty sharp and strong. Remix, on the other hand, there's a lot to learn there, and I'm
There's
excited to
still a
dig
lot
in.
to learn.
A lot, yeah, very excited to dig into more of the Remix framework. Yeah, so I guess that's as good a segue as any. So
To remix.
to Remix, I messed around with Remix a little bit earlier today in a couple different ways, just to trying to build up some more familiarity with how it functions and how it works. I read some documentation and I discovered some things that I think that we'll want to implement. So kind of we have to decide where we want to start first. I guess maybe I have the whole thing working. Let me just spin it up on my computer. That would probably be a good place to start.
Did you create your Prisma client?
Yes, I ran
Okay.
headlong right into that brick wall this morning when I was trying to get everything to work, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I pulled all the code, but I need to do the Prisma stuff." So I did get that figured out.
Those darn databases. They always require just a little bit more TLC.
Let's see, and then we want to go slash to do. Yes, okay. We should probably put something on our home route because there's nothing there, and it's just a blank page.
Oh yeah, let me take a look. Is it just nothing?
It's literally nothing. So the dev
Okay.
server worked and functioned properly, and then you just get a blank screen, which makes you think something's broken. Great
That's true.
UX. We're really nailing that UX right now.
We're on top of it.
Uh, so that would be, let's see. So if we go into app routes, that would be index. Yeah, and it's just a giant empty screen right now because we just kind of we just commented everything out.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah. I was just
Oh,
moving in that direction. So yeah, this is that, right? It's the
that's right.
this is the boilerplate, and it's just all gone. There's all these resources down here. I think we can probably get rid of those. And I think let's see, we could probably just get rid of all that, and then why don't we could put a link in here. That's what we have on the other one. It's just a link to the to do app, so we could have something. I don't know if you
Okay,
want to put like
that feels good.
an H1 for upskill and chill. Wow, my text highlighter is doing some funky stuff right now.
Yeah, what is that?
that is not just plain text inside of an HTML.
That
Sometimes
that
some
should be our design now. We should
yeah
red. What is that? Blue, green? I get it's hard to tell from here. It's like every word is a different color.
yeah. Well, I mean this would be like my like standard variables, and then this
Mhm.
is what I use for types and like components. So yeah, it's my highlighter is being not. Let's see. So if we go here, there. So now at least we have that, and we can class name. Uh, is it text like for Excel? I have not been doing. There we go. Um, I've been really deep in like all the programmatic stuff now for this whole time.
Mhm.
I have not been messing around with like Tailwind styling nearly at all. It's all just been about API calls and database fetching and whatnot.
Yes,
So
come to the backside.
the backside. So my front end, I had to think there for a second. Like, wait, what's the Tailwind class again? Um, okay, so then here we can. I think it's just link, right? From yeah,
Oh, you might have to. Oh, you already imported it, or maybe
it just auto
your Vim did
imported.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Um, is this a self closing tag?
No. Um,
No, it's like
you got to put some text in there.
yeah, okay. App and then what slash to do? Will that do it?
Is it two anymore, or did that get deprecated?
I don't know.
Maybe.
My IDE was just telling me.
And maybe that works. Oh, yeah,
Yep,
there you go.
yep. But this looks awful. Um,
It's just like a little like tumor growing on the side of
yeah, and
Skill and
I
Chill
mean, if
remake.
we wanted to, be real, should probably do like a nav,
Mm-hmm.
and then on this nav we can do a. Oops.
You know what we don't even have yet is main tags anywhere on here. I don't think actually.
Oh, maybe not. Flex call. Justify center items center. Think that'll do what we want. No, no, because this is flex row still. We need flex call up
Yeah.
here.
No, that was too much. That was one step too far.
Yeah. What? What? Class name. What is this even complaining about? Failed to parse source. JSX syntax. Got nav.
Class name. It's pointing
Class
at your
name.
nav class name.
Yeah.
Maybe just a refresh?
Why does it not like? I tried that already.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Failed to parse source. Appropriate plugin. I mean, no, I have Tailwind in here already. It doesn't. It was fine with this a second ago.
Is it the nav?
What in the world? Okay.
Huh.
It doesn't like the nav inside the div or something. Like what?
Interesting. Why would that be?
That's that is bizarre. Height screen. I don't know. I mean, there are certain things that I would probably change about this markup, but I'm just gonna do a space. I always have to stop and think about if like which is the X and which is the Y. But yeah, so there, just a little bit of that, and then link class name. Is it text like blue 500? I don't know. We don't have our styling and everything in here.
Oh, we didn't set
Our
up our
colors and our
Tailwind
theme,
classes.
our theme and everything, but that is at least It's amazing how slowly an app grows when you work on it once every 2 weeks for like an hour. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, weird. You'd think that would be just lightning fast development.
So we have the to-do form. This is our tasks over there. So this is this. Yeah. So to-do is inside. Where is? I'm trying to think about where. Because this is to-do. So that's what's being called. Is just this is happening, right? So yeah, we don't have any main tag anywhere, like you were saying. So this being a page, it should have a main tag.
Yeah, I was thinking, unless we were going to expand functionality beyond being a to-do form, the main tag feels appropriate here. Otherwise, I would say maybe it goes on the index, and that this would be more like a section. Actually, I'm not sure if section is the right. I think that's the right.
Well, except these are different routes, so I feel like each route should have its own main tag because it's going to be a different page.
Didn't we talked about that before, didn't we? I
think
never
we
looked
did.
that up. Does each route get a main tag?
Oh, and this the to do here is missing because we brought the component in here, but this was being wrapped by a next layout before. So that's kind of the thing that we're missing. I am blanking right now on how Remix does layout components to like wrap.
This is saying that there should not be more than one main element in a document, and it shouldn't contain anything that is repeated across documents. Okay, so to me that actually means that
By document, in my mind, document
each
means
document.
page.
I think that's what it means, but I
Yeah.
also think that means that, like, for our purposes, like, let's say we had like a to-do, a map, and some other thing. Each one of those would get a main, I think
Yeah,
is what this is saying. Because it says it shouldn't be repeated across documents.
yeah,
Um,
I would
or
agree with
sorry,
you.
sorry, it shouldn't contain anything repeated across documents such as sidebars, nav links, copyright info, site logos, and such. Okay. I won't lie though. W3 Schools documentation does make this a little confusing. Hmm.
Okay, interesting. So in the root TSX, we can export function layout, and then that is where you can make a wrapper layout set of markup. Huh. I'll have to read more about that because that's definitely something we're going to want to do is being able to do layout stuff. But that's the root route specifically. Wonder if there's
Oh, I see what you're saying.
there's not a wonder what the equivalent is for being able to give each route its own layout if we want, which I'm sure is possible. We won't mess with that today. I don't want to get too sidetracked and bogged down in things, so we'll just let this be off-centered and whatnot. I was thinking the more interesting thing to do would be to approach this delete
Oh,
task.
I think I know the answer, by the way.
Okay, what's up?
I think you just put wherever you want there to be a layout, um, you create a file that's underscore layout.tsx at the like inside that file. Actually, hold on. Something doesn't make sense about this. That is not how they do routing.
Yeah,
Never mind. Never mind.
that would make sense in a Next.js
That certainly would.
setup.
Okay, we'll continue on then.
Yeah. So right now we are capable of creating new tasks and having them populate and go through that whole process. But we currently cannot delete our tasks.
That's right.
So enabling our to delete, which is in the task here, is this button down here. Oh, I guess it's a block comment, so I should have used a different shortcut, but whatever, we'll do it manually. So for the moment, I think we'll just ditch the icon. Oh, maybe the icon button will work if we brought it over. Let's see where here. No, that's not. That is.
Oh, that reminds me, we don't have a prettier file set up for this project either.
You're right. We do not.
Not that we necessarily need it.
Upskill. Let's see. So CD into, I think it's remix, and so I want to go. Actually, I don't want to do remix.
You want next, right?
I want to do next. And then in here, we have our source app components to do. And here's our icon button. Oops, what am I doing? Curious to just like put this over here. Although I was talking before about how I was interested in maybe using shadcn.
Oh, right, for
Stuff
custom
as well,
components.
but that's a whole nother app, another library to like add in and everything right now. So let's bring this over here. Not going to need the use client bit, I don't think. And then I know that it worked previously, so then let's see if we can. No, it's not gonna. Okay. I also realized that we can use absolute routing. Oops. But it's the tilde in Remix is the way it's set up currently instead of the @ sign.
Okay.
I've seen it
That makes
both ways.
sense.
I've seen it both ways. And I don't know if it's just a a preference or if there's a reason.
That's how my terminal identifies it.
Yeah, I've seen @ signs as well, but yeah, it's set up in there. I was looking for that earlier today, but we can do absolute pathing now as well. There, and then
That's good to
might
know.
want to bring over the trash as well. Bring over the trash.
Bring the trash. I
Um,
thought we took out the
that's
trash.
going to be in constants, right? And no,
No, no,
no.
it's in components because we did that import. You actually might not need to do that since we're not worried about the whole client component thing. You could probably just import it directly from the library, right?
That'd be cool. Good. If we go over here and let's see. So, oops. If I can't type today, third party. So here, this is. We have to install
That's right.
the library for it, which we can do. Just try putting that here, and we'll get rid of that. That's going to probably cause things to have issues. And then what is the install link or command here? There we go. Okay, well, that was simple enough, but I just want to make sure I'm in the right place here right now. Yeah. All right, cool. Run that again. So hopefully now we'll be getting trash down there on line 33. Vite is so fast. I love that. My browser, on the other hand.
5173.
Not getting any errors. Localhost. Wonder if it's going to complain about that. So for the moment, let's just get this button with the icon and everything optimized. Page reload. Cannot read properties of null reading. Use context. Why have I seen that before?
That usually,
There we
yeah,
go.
there you go. That usually results from when there's some kind of like use client server component issue.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
like at least in recent memory.
yeah. So we've got our button back again, which is cool. Okay. So then we were going to create a form, and here, this is where we can talk about the idea of use fetcher and how this, I think, is the preferred way to do what we want to do. And let me see if I can find the little guide that I read that was talking about it. I should have saved it.
So use fetcher is a form component, or the form fetch. Is that what you said? Fetch form? One of those two.
Fetcher.form, and it comes out
Okay.
of the use fetcher. It's the return from the use fetcher hook.
Oh, okay, okay. And this is a remix hook, is that right?
Yes. I was just reading about this. Is it form validation? No, not form validation.
Hmm. Oh, I see. So you import it, you'll declare variable fetcher equals use fetcher, and then inside you add an object with a key. What does that key refer to? Add to that. Oh, okay, and then return fetcher.form. I see what you're saying.
Here. So in the remix documentation under guides on the left side, there's an article a little ways down called data rights.
Hmm.
And this is where it's talking about how we're using different forms, and maybe is form validation. Okay, so this
And
is about
so
data
this
writing.
will
Maybe this is syntax.
prevent us from having to do like prevent default, right? Having to call that. That's what it looks like at
Yes,
least.
different parts. Okay, this is not exactly. This is so weird. There was a whole. Or maybe it's discussion topics is what I was looking at. Form versus fetcher. Here. Okay, sorry. It's not under guides. It's under discussion topics. And then it's form versus fetcher. And the basic piece is that when you activate something from a form, do you want the URL to change or do you not want the URL to change? Are you
Hmm.
navigating to a different URL or not after the action has happened? And when you do not want the URL to change, that's when you use fetcher and the use fetcher dot form. I don't I don't fully yet understand what fetcher is and why. I need to probably read this again um, to like fully understand it.
Hmm.
But um, that's us, right? We're here. We're viewing this app. When we hit delete, we want an action to happen, but we're not going to change away from slash to do. We just want the thing to go away and for this route to be updated, revalidated, right?
That's right.
Same thing when we create too. When we make one, we just want it to pop up. We're not changing. We're not navigating somewhere else. So I think um, form fetcher is where we actually want to be and doing stuff. So with that being said, then, so I think we want to import, and now I need to go back over to the use fetcher documentation. But yeah, so it's um, use fetcher from at remix run react, and then inside of the component down here we can const fetcher equals use fetcher, and then this fetcher object down here is we're going to use fetcher.form, which seems kind of odd, but
I think the form is capitalized too.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just flying by the seat of my pants there, but there. Fetcher, use fetcher dat, yep, capital form. And then this is just this is the normal form. So we're going to have our method, and this is a delete method. So we're actually just going to use the delete method here.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, I think this is what we want. We can say what action we want to run. So I think slash to do, that just says some route. What's this action for? Let's see. I'm guessing. We don't want to guess. So you pass a key. By default, use fetcher generates a unique fetcher scoped to that component. However, it may be looked up in use fetcher. If you want to identify a fetcher with your own key such that you can access it from elsewhere in your app. I don't know if maybe you can do that with the key. So you can give it a key to give it an identifier. I don't know if we want to identify this fetcher elsewhere in the app.
We probably don't need to
No.
at this point. I'm not even sure where we would want to be able to add. Um, yeah, we're probably good on that at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, yeah, what this action is.
The URL of the submission. Form action. Fetcher.form action.
URL the submission. Oh, I need to see an example.
Yeah. Some route. So this is my question is if so you can have different methods from forms, post, get, delete, patch, all that
Mhm.
stuff. Um, but in a given route component, you just have um, like on this route, we have an action, right?
Right.
It's just export action, and then we get our request, and then we're doing something with it. How do we determine like, well, this is what we want for our post action? How do we say, hey, use this action for post and a different action for delete? That is not something that I have seen in my reading.
Good question. Good question. Well, I suppose the action, because we're separating them out, right? Let me see. I'm sure that's something that has come up for others.
I'm sure. So you can define an action, defining the action, displaying validation errors, conclusion. But yeah, I mean, you will need to have. Am I thinking about it wrong? Do we not include more than one? Let's see. A route action is a server-only function to handle data. If a non-get request is made to your route, delete, patch, post, put, then the action is called before the loader. Actions have the same APIs as loaders. The only difference is when they are called. Co-locate everything. When a post is made to a URL, multiple routes in your route hierarchy will match the URL, unlike a get to loaders, where all of them are called to build the UI. Let's call Okay, so it definitely has to do, or part of this has to do with that action prop, because that is going to be a route, and that's us pointing at the route where we want to trigger the action. From what I'm reading here.
Right. So I think if you were actually, let me double check this. There's like a simple way to write. Well, gosh, I don't know. Action. Da, 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 da. I'm looking on an example at Stack Overflow, but it's not exactly addressing what we're asking for. But you can call fetcher.submit.
I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure you can submit it just like a normal form.
No, you can, but I'm saying in the event where you have like, let's say the same component has multiple different methods that you want to use. Like it doesn't just have post, it has delete or update as well. In that case, your action wouldn't be able to cover all of those separate methods. Oh, this isn't right.
So that action prop is telling the form like what route to send the request to.
Right, there will be an action at that route,
At
right?
that route, you can
To return a
specify
sticker.
the route. If no route is specified in there, it'll take the closest one to in the component hierarchy to wherever it's activated. So we can tell it to go somewhere, but we don't really need to tell it where to go. We need to tell it what kind of, so we're already sending method delete. So I don't think we need this action at all because it's just going to bubble up because task is in to do form, which is in to do, and we'll get here to this point. Do we have to segregate our action here based on, like, inside the request, do we have a method? Like, so I'm thinking is if we, if request dot method equals post, then we do all the stuff here. That seems kind of clunky potentially.
Yes, that does seem somewhat clunky. I mean, something to think about too. We don't necessarily need to mess with this logic. We could just do this on the actual to-do form. Wait, actually, could we? Oh, I see what you're saying, because the task is right here, right?
Well, the task is we click the button here. This is going to be the form, and we'll
So why
have.
not set up an action here, and then I guess we'll still
Well,
run into the
this is
same
a
problem.
component. This isn't a route. This is a component file.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right,
Right?
actions are not on components; they're only on route
On
files.
route files. That to do form is also just a component, and then task is nested inside of to do. No, it's not inside of to do form. What am I thinking? You have to do form here, and then task is here. So task and to do form are actually siblings, kind of, if we want to think about that way. Inside of to do, the task is right here. So I'm just thinking about like typical backend architecture is that you will have your same route, but then you will identify a controller for when the route comes in on a post method versus a put method or a get method. You use the same route name, but then you divert it based on the method that's coming in, right?
Um,
That's what you do in Express,
yeah.
right? You go route dot post, and then you tell it which controller to trigger, or route dot get, and you tell it which
Mhm.
controller to trigger. So
Yeah, that's correct.
that, in my mind, that's what this would be. This if statement would be doing. It's kind of it is kind of clunky, and I would want to, like, if we're going to do that, I would want to take this logic and put it in its own function, so that this doesn't get super messy in the action itself. But I haven't seen anything where it's just going to come into the action, I imagine. So let me try this. Okay, and we'll just put method. I'm very curious.
If this even brings anything up,
Yeah,
it should.
and then this icon button. Let's see. Let's see. Button. Can we make this a submit button, or is it a submit button by default?
It is by default.
That's something we had discussed, I think, last time as well.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, we'll just do a quick refresh here, which will be fast because it's Vite. and then if we, I guess that'll happen. That console log is going to happen on the server side, not on the client side.
Yeah, most likely, at least.
Delete. Nice. You defined an action for route to do, but didn't return anything from your action function. Okay, so over here, delete. See there, method delete.
Nice. Okay.
So I am right. We got delete, and then it was mad because it didn't go in here, and so there's no return statement, and that's why it's angry at us.
Okay.
So if we
So now we create a delete.
Yeah. If we do this and we come in here and just say hello from delete, and then we'll want to return. Can we bring in that fancy little JSON thing? Oops. Something like that. Did that import the JSON from? Yes, it did. Fantastic. Okay. So stop being angry. There. We got hello from delete.
Okay, good.
And that would have returned, but we didn't. We don't
Not
have
using
anything.
that value.
We
Yeah.
don't have anything handling it right now. But yeah, it is returning something. Okay, so I mean, in my mind, this is how it. I mean, clearly this will work. If this is ideal or not, I'd be interested in doing research to find out if this is exactly how this is supposed to happen.
The only thing I could think of, and this is not based on seeing anything from Remix, but I was wondering if they do like an actual like API route where it's like you have all your it's just like a component that exists for actions. It's a route rather that exists for actions, and it would be like, I guess not unlike how Next does it, where it's like you have your own API folder
Mm-hmm.
that all that routes to essentially. I wonder if you would do that here just to keep the business logic on each component relatively simple. But it's really no different than what we're doing here, I think, in Spirit. It's like the exact same logic, just kind of like pulling it away from an actual component that has what do you call it? HTML and such.
Yeah, I'm sure other people like this. Obviously, is something here. Let me take a peek here real quick. This is what is the best practice to handle multiple actions in the same page? This is from the Remix. Option 1 would be the simplest and acceptable solution. Okay, option. Have a simple switch and split the actual logic to handle the action in a separate file that does the job. So the action
Hmm.
just has switch and calls the necessary function, which is exactly what we're doing and I was suggesting.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then option 2, create different actions for each interaction, like API slash to funny to do slash upload image, and then API slash to do slash delete. So,
No, which is what I was saying.
we can create another route file.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't pick up on exactly what you were saying.
it doesn't make a ton of sense, but it makes a little bit. I guess these would be componentless files, right? They would simply contain actions. But I was thinking of like a hybrid of the two approaches, where it's like we're doing what you're doing here, which is essentially creating a switch statement to evaluate the request method and then assign the correct logic. But just doing that in a separate file that's not to do.tsx. Like it would be in like an API route file, just to like organize the logic.
I definitely want to read more of this. Yeah, and somebody was saying in here that one of the challenges with defining different routes for each of those actions, you have to deal with people like typing that into their browser, right? I could type in to do slash delete, and then what
Mm,
happened, but if we just make it all, if we do it like this, then I liked somebody's suggestion here, and they said um, I'd do the simplest thing possible, then refactor it if it starts becoming an issue.
There you go.
And I think
It's
for
a
at
good
least
way
for
to
our
live.
purposes right now, I think that's going to be fine. I like the idea of a switch case as well. I think I want to refactor this to a switch case.
Yeah.
I've grown to like the simplicity of switch cases. Let's see if I. But remembering the syntax is always switch here request dot method
hmm
case
I think
post
colon.
and then the.
Oh, or is it there? Okay.
I think it's colon and then that would be a function and then break. You put the function name here.
Um.
I think that's yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's at a default. So what's the break for?
To stop the execution downward. So if you don't have break or if you don't return inside of a actually I think you could just do this and you could like do stuff in here. And I think maybe you need a break in here. Oh man.
Well, don't you could also just return the function that you're going to run, or the logic, or will return.
Like
So you're saying like
return
everything in if
function
request dot
name.
method is equal to post would be like would be like post function or something like that. You'd like rename that.
Sorry, say again.
You're saying. Sorry, what am I asking? When you say like case post return function name, that would be function name would be like if we defined everything happening below that's supposed to happen for our post route as function name.
Yeah, we'll make it a function and we can store that.
Okay.
We can store that outside of this.
I see.
So this will become its own imported function. I kind of like that separation of stuff.
Totally.
It doesn't have to be, but so I mean, if we were to use this, we could. Let's see. So we took that up here. I don't know if we need a return statement. We need a return or break.
Let me see. I don't remember using break very much with case. Switch case, but honestly, it's been a while since I've used it.
Switch case, like I always remember about 95% of the syntax, and there's always something that like slips my mind exactly on how to.
Oh, you know what? It's crazy. I almost never use it in JavaScript. I think I was thinking of Python. Oh wow, yeah, you do call. Oh, I guess it depends. You're right on what you're doing. If you're just assigning things and not returning anything, then you do need the break.
Yeah, because switch cases can they can waterfall through. So like you can catch, you can have a case that happens for a particular instance, but then you can have a lower down case that would also happen if like two conditions are met. So if you want it to strictly be like one and done, then you have to either return or break.
Hmm. Maybe both.
So if I save this, okay, so we are returning from this. Yeah, and this would be so much easier to read if we just, okay. Where should we put these files? Where should we do this? So we're going to have app. Do we want to do like I don't know, would it be resources? We could just do actions. Could we just do that's not a reserved name, is it? If we did a folder called actions, and then inside of there we could do, let's see, we have to separate the actions for the to do route. So like to do dot ts. So it'd be our to do actions, like actions for the to do route. Does that make sense?
Uh, I forgot. How does the naming work in this? Do we need to call it to do dot route or something like that? No, I guess not.
Well,
Oh,
I'm not trying to make a route. I just want to make a TS file.
but doesn't it have to be a route
No, I'm
for
thinking
us to
then
create an
this is
action?
just going to be like I'll create this real quick.
Yeah.
Um, and then this will just be like functions. We'll just do like export. We could just call it post.
Oh, I see. This is going to be just the set of functions that we will
Export
call elsewhere.
const post async. Jeez. Butterfingers. Okay. And then we'll have to bring in a couple of things. The Prisma. And then do we have a request type? Oh, this is gonna have to bring in the. This is gonna have to take in the request, and that is.
Action function args.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oops, no. Now, what is it complaining about? The return type.
Well, I guess actually no, it doesn't. It shouldn't take. What does the post actually get? Because that's the action arguments. Post itself here gets form data.
Form data. Yeah, you're right. We just call it form data? Or do we just call it
Uh,
data?
yeah, it'll still be type form data, I think.
So here, just to clear that out. So here we're going to be bringing in our, I guess maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. This is kind of weird to have it like that. Post and then request dot form data.
I think that's how it's called.
Yep. You guys just be quiet for a second, please. Okay.
Oh, it might be
And
more like
this task.
request.body. It says when you call delete patch post put, then the route action is being called with form data as the body. I'm actually not sure what they call it. We'll probably need to just run into that problem or not.
So here we've got data. So here, instead of form data, let's rename this to data. That'll solve that problem at least. Has an any type and
You can type it as form data.
like this.
Capital D. Yeah, that one.
Okay, so it's not args anymore. Those args. Okay, maybe we're getting close. Promise data is not assignable to. Oh, we have to wait. Okay, so maybe not perfect, maybe not beautiful, but this is the idea. So we have it come in. We identify it as a post method, and we send it off to our post function.
Should we
Then
see
in
if that
here,
works?
that's probably a good idea. Let's get rid of that one to make sure that we're triggering the right stuff here. Refresh. Stop breaking. Okay. Testing post method. Blah. This is super important. Oh!
Define action.
Return anything from your action. Okay.
Oh, we gotta return, of course.
We do return.
No, in the actual.
But then here,
yeah,
we have
need
to
to return post.
Or do we actually return post, or should we be returning? Well, yeah, we were just return the new task, and then that's what we're returning from here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I mean, so it went through.
Yeah.
Test.
I think that was just like Remix didn't like that.
Yep.
Yay.
Okay. Cool. I like that. Okay. We answered a major question. Is like, how do we handle different request methods to the same route? Nailed it. So then we can.
That also
delete.
answered another subtle question for me, which is on the request object. How does the form data actually come? Because this says it's being called with form data as the body, but we're actually just calling it form data, request.form data. It's not request.body or anything like that.
Yeah, I want to say that that's a little bit of like magic that Remix is doing. Like Remix is intercepting and then kind of reformulating things to work how the API that they want to offer. So then here,
can you take me back to the actual post function? Because you're asking, so you pass form data as data, so we still have to get everything. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I'm with it.
Cool. I dig this. This is feeling, now as a full stack developer now. This is feeling nice between like the route controller type of relationship again. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that relationship that Remix is trying to solve. That's not the point. So here then we want delete. What are we going to take in here? We're going to take in an ID. Is that a number or is that a string?
That will probably be a string. Based on how we typed it before. Actually, yeah, UUID is a string, right? Let's see.
Oops, it did give me the window.
It is a string.
String. Okay.
Is that all? Yeah, I guess we don't need form data. We just need the ID of the task we're deleting.
Yeah, just need the ID. So then here, case. I mean, I guess we could just return delete. Probably don't need.
Oh yeah, I don't think you need the curlies, the curly fries.
One liner. So we got delete there, and then we can import our delete, and then here. Okay, so we're not doing anything with the form, so I'm just going to close that. So over here,
we need to pass the ID in the to do form also.
In the form? Why?
It's in the function call. I mean, see how it says expected one argument but got 0.
Yes. I'm trying to figure out where the ID comes from. Because so here we are in the task. This is where the button click happens. so this is the request that's going to come in. So on this request, we're going to have, like, that's my question. The request is going to come
So
through
take me
with
to the task. Um,
method delete
oh,
input.
we're
We have this
passing.
ID, right? The
Yeah, we're
hidden
passing the
ID. So
ID.
task ID. So it'll be in the form data again.
Yes.
Okay, so we want to pass in
Request.form data, I guess.
await request dot form data. Is there a better way to do this? Can we take can we
You
get
could.
like form data and await request dot form data and then pass that instead?
I imagine,
I
right?
just don't like having
Yeah.
all of these
Yeah, it's too long. I agree. This
all these awaits around everywhere.
not assignable to
Um,
parameter type
yeah,
string.
yeah. So
So we'll
we
have to
could
type,
do
yeah.
form data. Now here we could do the form data get blah blah and pass exactly what we want, or do we handle that here where we're actually, again, we're going to be getting data? Maybe this is what we want instead.
This feels cleaner.
Handle the
Feels more
complexity down
uniform.
here. So then we can do const task ID equals, and then we're breaking data dot get, and this would be task ID, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then we have to do some Prisma stuff here. So Prisma dot task dot delete, I imagine, and it would just be task ID. Is that all we need?
Um, you might have to do delete, open an object. Oh, hold on. Let me try this. Maybe.
Well, there is an error here.
Oh, I think you have to like open up an object and then property where a key where another object and then ID and then you'll pass the ID there. Um,
Args select where. Okay. So where, and we're gonna do, it's like what, ID equals?
no, it'll be another object after where,
Okay.
and then inside of here it would be um, ID colon task ID.
Okay, that's the syntax.
Yeah.
Okay. And then uh, that is going to return something, anything.
Yes. We could set it equal
Do
to
we
like
do we care?
deleted task or something. There's no reason for us to need to like return that necessarily.
Except Remix demands that we return something.
Which we are, right? We're returning a null value. I think is it null or undefined when a function doesn't itself return anything, but you return the function?
I'm not
This is
sure.
probably better, honestly. At least for now, we're returning a task.
Return, and then come back over here.
Is the backend like it? Nice, yes.
uh, winning. So much winning going on right now. That's sweet. That's sweet. Okay.
That's exciting.
Um,
I like the way this works.
I do too. I really like that that pattern. I think that feels really good. And we don't need this. And then there, we just have a nice like clean action where it's very clear. Like, oh, you're checking the method, and post you go here, delete you go here, and then you don't have to look at all of that code right here, cluttering up the route file. You can go to where you want to go, where you need to, and pick the ones that you're going to do there. I like it. I dig it. Okay, cool. And the icon button is working just fine. Ah, uh-oh. We spoke too soon.
Wait, what? Where did this come from? Oh, this again.
Yeah, I don't.
It doesn't like what?
A UL inside the suspense. Yeah, this is kind of what was happening before with that nav.
Hmm.
That the nav. That's weird. Wonder why.
That's something to investigate once it happens again.
Yeah,
See what the remixers out there are feeling about
yeah.
that.
But there we go. We can delete. Man, I am really liking Remix. I'm really liking the simplicity of the full stack integration with this. Like it just makes sense. It's really nicely like it's just like the action. Here's your back end. Do your back end stuff here. Here's your front end. Do your front end stuff here. And it just works. It just connects to each other without any weird, overly complicated file structure or anything like that.
Yeah, it reminds me. I think you said this when we first started out looking at Remix, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of how Vue.js works. Just
Yeah.
that like every component has all of its concerns kind of on the same page in a sense.
Yeah.
We're doing a bit of abstracting of the business logic, but I mean the idea is still there. We can still see that the actions running on this page are a post, a delete, so on and so forth.
Hmm. Yep. I really like that. I think that's like really clean, efficient. It's easy to read and follow. Um, yeah, very cool. And this fetcher form thing worked, which is cool too. Dig that.
That seems pretty seamless.
Yeah. This
So,
hidden input thing is still kind of funky in my mind, but it clearly works. And
well, let's
you know,
take just a minute or two and think: is there a better way to do that with the tools we have here? Because we're essentially passing a form,
yeah,
right?
and
To
that's the thing is that we don't, as far as I've seen, we don't have the ability to like add a payload of our like we could come over here, you know, and put an object here that would be like task
what
ID,
about
right? That would be like appended. That would be cool.
Okay, there's another way, maybe. And this is maybe going back to having like a separate API route. I don't know what the dangers of that are, but my thought is that like you would dynamically generate from the task's ID. You'd hit the route wherever the action is stored, that route, but with ID as well inside of the like be like slash to do slash delete slash ID or something like that.
Hmm.
That way you're passing it through the URL
It'd be
and
a
we'd have
URL
access.
parameter then.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So then, in that case, then I think we would have to go back to using form because then we're messing with the URL on the submit.
You know how like
And they do allow for the parameter passing like that, obviously.
yeah, because like on this it said action equals and then you give it a route, right? Could we not set up a route that is looking for an ID passed as a parameter? I'm pretty sure there's a way to do that in Remix.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so it's slash routes. So your route that you would be sending to, you make it the route, and then for the variable in the URL, you do a $sign and then the name of the variable that you want dot tsx, right?
Mm, mm.
Um, so if we were going to do that here, it would be action equals to do, I don't know, delete here, and then I mean, well, this is actually in this place. This is where we would put the ID, right? Obviously, I have to do a
Yeah,
little bit of different syntax here, but
totally.
what I was just talking about was the routing aspect of it. So in app routes, here we would need to create to do slash delete. No, it'd be to do. Is it an
Dot
underscore?
dot delete.
It's dot. That's right. Yeah. Delete dot $ task ID dot tsx.
Right. I think
I think that would
that's how
be,
we would do it that way.
yes. And then in that component, then you would use the use params hook
Hmm.
to pull that parameter out and be able to use it there.
That's one way.
So
I'm trying to think of like, is there another way in the paradigm that we have? Um, I mean, I guess also this is fine in its own way. Since we're using a
yeah,
form, we're using the form data, and it's hidden because we don't really need the user to interact with this at all.
yeah. Okay, so this hidden input is necessary because we're not specifying the action like that to a separate route.
Hmm.
Otherwise, we would do exactly what we were just talking about, and that is that's obviously a very standard pattern as well. But then, like we said, the downside to that is, I mean, you're changing your route, but that doesn't necessarily navigate you off of like seeing this thing. There's a way of doing that with the routing where it, like, we don't want the view to change. We just want to do something in the back end.
Yeah.
But you're navigating to a different route.
No, no, you're just hitting the action of that route, but you're not actually navigating there because we're
Oh,
using
yeah.
the fetcher form.
Yeah, that's right. Would that be better?
I don't know.
I mean,
Um, it's kind of like it's
hmm,
going back to in Next how we have the API folder. It's like that. It's like setting up route handlers and then kind of handling all the logic in the handler. I'm not sure if that's better. I'm not even really sure what the advantages and disadvantages are of that. As long as we're able to maintain consistency in our approach, I'm happy with that.
yeah.
What would make me unhappy is having to be like, some of these are handled in a route handler, some of these are handled, from like a separate action file or something like that.
I think something that just clicked into place for me is um, the routing and name routing, and the fact that we're talking about front end routes and back end routes.
Hmm.
Um, and I was just kind of thinking about them all as like one mixed up ball of routes. But your front end routes have to do with front end navigation.
Right.
But this action on the route here would hit a back end route.
Yeah, essentially you're hitting like an endpoint instead of
And then
a
we would
navigational
create,
route.
instead of doing something like this and all of this, we would create that file like we were just talking about, to do dot delete dot $ task
Hmm.
ID. And then that would be the backend controller, like route with, and then there would be an action there that would
Exactly.
that would take it in. And then you wouldn't have to do any of this because that would be the action for that route.
Yeah, we'd probably even remove the action from this file in that case, unless there were other actions that need to be done. But I suppose it matches the pattern that Express lays out a little more closely, to set up like a separate file that is like the backend routes.
I guess we would leave the post action here because that's coming from the form. Not here. I closed the form, but so yeah, right. The to do form is submitting an action, a post action, a post method.
But you could do the same thing. You could do the same logic, right? You could set up a. It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the actual same route as the delete, since delete requires an ID and
Hmm.
create doesn't require. It requires a body, but it doesn't require
Yeah,
anything in the URL except for whichever endpoint you're hitting.
yeah. So we could just be like to do dot create dot
Um,
tsx,
no, it'd just be to do.
to do dot
So it would be a
tsx.
separate. It would be like I don't know, API dot to do dot
Oh yeah,
tsx.
I like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely doing like an API directory and then putting your backend routes inside of that. Oh man, okay, this opens up. Yeah, wow. Okay, there's those two approaches are quite different.
To be honest, though, I'm not mad at this approach either. Like I'm curious just to see, like, if we built the other one, the other style, like if there are other pratfalls or if it's simpler, or I don't know what the problem could or could not be, but
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to know that you can build it this way too. Uh,
Yes. I
like
mean,
this, there's a strength in this. One thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is I reread a piece of wisdom I've seen it many times, which is that like ultimately what we're trying to do with all this code is not just build the thing, but make it so that when you read the code, it reads really cleanly, like what it's actually doing. And so with what we've done here, I feel like, oh, I know that you know, the action is that I am posting form data to, post being create. Like, I don't know, like, there's something strong about that. Maybe we would rename like post and delete to like create to do, delete to do, or create task, delete task, or something like
hmm.
that. But like, the idea is there, right? It's all, I don't know,
I actually kind of so maybe a silly thing, but I actually want to rename this to do
totally,
actions
totally.
because just in my tabs up here, I'm seeing to do, right? And I
So
want to
much to
know
do,
that
yeah.
I really want to know that this is to do actions, and I also really like what you said was like delete task, so that this is more expressive. Create task, and then over here it'll be create task and delete task. I like that a lot more. And I really want this to be in the order
Yeah, totally.
that I like reading left to right, up to down. I want that. I really like that matching. It's a helpful organizational piece.
Oh, you called it tasked in the file.
Yeah, because clearly it's supposed to
Delete
be
taste.
tasked. Yes. Okay. There. I like that better. And then that's extra adding like to you're talking about being cleanly read. Like the post method will create a task, the delete method will delete a task.
Totally.
Over
And then we'll
here,
get to update and all that eventually.
it's much more much better read here as well as to like what's going on just by looking at the function name. I like that. Yeah, I'm okay with this pattern. I like this.
Yeah,
The
this
other
is
thing
cool.
that eliminates is that idea that people can in the URL of their browser could just start. I mean, and I guess you could do that on any API technically. Um, if you have the endpoint for it, you can just like you can hit it in your browser with stuff. But
Well, so wouldn't that throw up a CORS error? Since we're in the
uh,
same domain, we don't even have to deal with that, which is kind of nice.
yeah, you're probably right.
I'm actually not sure if that would though. Um, I guess Postman wouldn't throw that error up because Postman is not like a separate domain, which is a strange wrinkle of how that works.
Yeah, I could see both, and I think for our purposes, this works and it's
Yeah,
straightforward and simple. It means we create one extra file instead of creating a whole bunch, like the extra API folder with a whole bunch of other routes, which is a whole bunch of extra files. Like that's just more code to maintain. At least for our implementation at this point, this seems like the best option in my mind.
yeah. Let's just stick with this
This
pattern.
is cool. I like Remix. I like it a lot.
You hear that, everybody? He's falling in love.
I mean, I already kind of liked it from the beginning, and we've talked about um, we've talked about before about just how just the fact that it's I don't like it just because it's newer, but because it is newer, there are things about it that I really like. That like it's iterated over the top of Next.js and been like, we can do it better because
I totally
you know
agree with you, but it sounds like what you said is I don't like it because it's newer, but because it's newer, I like it. No,
because
I
of the
totally feel you.
yeah
It does kind of feel like, I mean, I don't know, even when Remix was
like
getting
2018, I think
developed.
something like that.
Okay, because it almost feels like it's answering a lot of things that like frustrated both of us about Next. Um, yeah, I don't know. If I'm being honest, I think I prefer the file structure of Next a little more in terms of, like, how the routes are handled.
I really
The
like that.
dot thing is a little clunky to me, but, I mean, it's survivable. It's not, like, the biggest
Yeah.
deal in the world. Um,
I mean, I really like it for just the layout thing, right? Once you understand that you make your route directory, you have your
mm,
page.tsx, layout.tsx. There's another one that you can do in there too. Um, and just like that structure, that's really nicely organized. It's like here's your route, here's your page, here's your layout. Boom. Like that's really nice. I dig that a lot.
yeah. But then also, I guess on the same, token, the other side of that coin, I get really annoyed on Next, like, seeing that I have, like, 20 page.tsx files
Yes.
open.
Yes.
And even though it gives me the little my VS Code gives me the little, like, "Oh, this is from this route." I just don't
Hmm.
wanna have to look at that. Like, it's really nice to see the file name and be like, "Oh, this is to do. This
Yep.
one is to do actions," or this is like, that makes a lot more sense to me. So, I don't know. I guess you have to pick where where you want your strange naming to come from.
It just reminds me of the saying, "There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs." And I
Mm,
think that's
mm,
like a life philosophy, like from the smallest thing to the largest thing. Like there's really no solutions. There's just trade-offs. And I mean, in tech especially, it's not like one. I don't think any one framework is going to do everything absolutely the best with zero flaws. It's like, well, you're trading this great co-location of data of code between front end and back end. Um, and I know that a lot of people really like React Router, and I don't know enough about it to really have an opinion. But that syntax is definitely a little bit more complicated, less
mm.
intuitive. Um, and next, the file routing, everybody loves that. It's because it's super easy to understand once you like read a little bit of documentation. It's just there.
Yeah, you look
Um,
at it, you're like, "I instantly know where I am and what." It does create a
exactly.
lot of folders, but I think it still makes more sense to me.
That's just organization. I mean, it just means
Yeah.
that you know right where to go when you want to find a particular thing. But then next just does not have the full stack um, life cycle this clean and succinct.
Mm.
Yeah, cool. Well, I thought that was super fun. That was really fun to dig into that. Um, yeah, especially
Very interesting. Interesting design pattern.
yeah. Um, I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag or anything, but I mean we've been talking behind the scenes about the super secret startup, and since we built our POC before the proof of concept, we knew that we were going to do a rebuild because that was just like a super like fast slap together thing to have something to show some people at a particular time. But we knew there was a lot that we were going to learn from that, and then we were going to just do a full rebuild. And we've been talking about like, should we use Remix? And I'm definitely leaning more and more in the direction of like, let's just do it, man.
You
Let's
don't say.
just use Remix and make like just we'll run into speed bumps along the way because it's just a smaller ecosystem and there's less support for it, but it's nice, and um, I think it would be really helpful for the type of app that we're going to be trying to build.
You know, what we're doing right now is excellent study for exactly that implementation. I feel like we're continually just trying things and running into like, oh, does this work? Or how do we fix this? How do we do this? Implement this kind of workflow? I mean, this today was great. Got that's more of the kind of thing I was interested in because Remix is lightly advertised as a full stack framework as well. And as soon as I'd read that, I was thinking, well, how? Like, how does that work? Because I think there's a lot of attention on like how the action and the loader work and how that works differently than what you would be doing in Next. And those two tools alone, I think, are quite um, impressive.
We're
But
doing
now seeing like,
we're doing a full database like create delete process without a single use effect in sight, and I really like that.
yeah, I like that too. It might be working on the behind the scenes,
Oh,
but we don't have to
absolutely.
do it. We don't
Absolutely.
have to implement
They
it.
are internally doing that. But like you can get yourself into all kinds, I know from personal experience, all kinds of trouble with bad use effect and dependency arrays,
Yes,
and
yes.
just implementing something wrong with, and then updating state from inside of a user, like all that stuff can just lead to all sorts of problems. And for better or worse, it's just kind of been abstracted away. And I have a love hate relationship with abstraction of complexity,
Mm.
because being the technically minded person that I am, that we are, we like knowing the complexity. Like, I want to be able to build the thing, like from the little tiny building blocks, right? um, and you have a deeper understanding of how things work, so you can be a better developer, all that jazz. But then when it comes time to like slapping together an app in 30 days, it's really nice to have that complexity just like gone. So,
It's a bit paradoxical because on one hand, the more experienced developers I work with, the more I see that they're not super interested in building anything from scratch. Meaning like an off flow or like, implementing things without a like they're like, "Oh, this is a library I've used to do this in the past. I'm gonna use
mhm,
this, pull from here." But also, it feels like understanding how to do these things from scratch makes utilizing these out of the box solutions way more efficient, and you just understand on a way deeper level how to properly use them, and at times when they don't fully solve what you're trying to do, how to get around that or work with the tech so that you get exactly what you want. So it's like you're constantly in this place where you're like, well, I want to use more out of the box solutions, but that means I have to learn a lot more about how it works on a base level. But this grows faster, I think. The more you know, it just makes it so much easier.
mhm, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can relate that back to music. The idea of
Mm,
really understanding your instrument, and like, okay, I can play a groove and use a fill to transition between a verse into a chorus, and I could teach a student that groove and that fill, and they could probably be up and running with it, after a little bit of instruction, and then they can go and they can perform that song. um but then imagine being in a scenario where that student is now the drummer for a band, and the band says, hey, actually, we're going to change how that transition works. We're
mm-hmm.
gonna change that transition to now be like this, whatever that change might be. Maybe it's longer,
Totally.
it's shorter, different dynamics, whatever. Maybe they change the chorus into like a mambo feel instead of a backbeat feel now, right? So you're
Hmm.
transitioning into something like that, right? Me in that situation, it's like, oh, okay, I deeply understand exactly what everything in that groove is, each note there, why it's there, and what it's doing, and in the fill. And now something has changed. My requirements have changed. So I could, sure, let's just slap a new groove in there, new fill, boom, transition's done. But the other student has two blocks that they understand only as massive blocks that go
Mm.
together. And now you've completely shattered, and they have no deeper understanding of that material, and they don't know how to edit it, change it, or alter it to serve the new purpose.
That is
Um,
what it's like.
and that's exactly
It's
what
so funny.
development is like. The idea that you can get a long ways just understanding npm dependencies that you install, use the components, use the styling, go this and there. But as soon as something weird happens, or you have maybe like a more bizarre use case, or an error pops up, or you're asked to do something different, and if you don't understand the deeper workings of those libraries, and what they're doing, and how to maybe have them do something slightly different than what you're used to, you're stuck. You're done, right? Because only top level. So, um, yeah, you have to like be growing in both of those directions of like deeper learning, but also understand how to use the tools that other people have built, because that's how you build things for a job, right? Like, they
Yeah,
need
you
something,
use
they need
tools
it
and things.
done.
Yeah, you got to get going.
You got to get it done now. The beauty of libraries is you don't have to reinvent Lodash or Remix or frameworks or UI components every time that you're asked to build something new. And that's what allows you to churn things out and keep moving. But you need, again, you need both those understandings, and it's that's why it's a lot to learn.
Trying to think of like what an out of the box solution is in music. Eighth notes on the bass. Eighth note JS.
16th notes,
16 note JS.
triple finger pick.
There you go. No, those are not out. That is like that's the opposite. That's like you have to go so deep into like muscle memory and stuff.
Yeah.
That's like assembly.
Oh, there you go.
Build your instrument. Oh man. Well, this was a good one, Spencer. I enjoyed this exploration today. Oh, make sure you do me a favor and push your code up.
I will slap it all together in one massive commit. Yeah, just
Here it
drop
all
that
is.
right in there. The worst possible Git practices.
Brought to you by Upskill and Chill.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's see. Thanks everybody for joining. Anybody out there for watching? Hopefully you learned something as well, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a good weekend. Peace, everybody.
See ya. Cool. I'm gonna kill the live here as well.